It was supposed to be just another weekend trip, something to break the routine of city life. Mark and Eliza, a couple in their mid-40s, had rented a countryside cabin 2 hours out of town. The place came highly recommended for its serene views and walking trails, but no one had warned them about the passage. The first evening was peaceful. They sat by the fireplace, sipping wine and laughing at how long it had been since they last disconnected from everything. Yet, somewhere deep inside, Mark felt it, an odd sense of being watched. He chalked it up to the silence, too unfamiliar for a man used to the noise of the city. The next morning, while exploring the nearby forest trail, they stumbled upon something that wasn't on the map. A narrow stone archway, almost swallowed by thick vines. Carved into the worn stone was a single word: whisper. Eliza hesitated, her brow furrowing. "Is it safe?" she asked, glancing back. Mark shrugged, curiosity overpowering caution. "It's probably just a forgotten trail," he smiled. But as they stepped through, a strange sensation hit them, like walking through a curtain of cold air. Their skin prickled. The birds stopped singing. The wind died. It was unnervingly silent. The path beyond the archway felt untouched by time. Trees, tall and twisted, leaned in as if eavesdropping. The deeper they walked, the heavier the air felt. Eliza wrapped her arms around herself, eyes darting nervously. "I don't like this, Mark," she whispered. "Let's turn back." But the path behind them looked different. The archway was no longer in sight. It was as if it had vanished. Mark forced a laugh, though his voice trembled. "We probably just missed a turn. Let's keep going." They pressed on. A low, almost inaudible sound began, like whispers carried by the wind. Mark spun around. "Did you hear that?" Eliza's face was pale. "I did." Her voice cracked. The whispers grew louder, impossible to trace. Then a figure darted past us, so fast it was hard to tell if it was human. Eliza gasped, grabbing Mark's arm. "Did you see that?" Mark's throat went dry. I don't know what I saw." Panic settled in. Every sound became threatening. The rustling leaves felt like mocking laughter. "We're not supposed to be here," Eliza whispered, tears brimming. Mark nodded, trying to stay strong. "We find the way back. Stay close." But the forest had changed. Paths split in impossible directions. Trees twisted unnaturally. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. They moved faster, breathless, until they reached an old wooden sign barely hanging from a nail. It read, "Leave or stay forever." Eliza sobbed. "Mark, this isn't real. This is a nightmare." But it was real. The whispers returned, circling them, echoing their own words back at them. "Stay forever. Stay forever." They ran. Branches tore at their skin. Shadows shifted unnaturally. Mark tripped, landing hard. As Eliza helped him up, she froze. "Mark, look." Ahead was the same stone archway, but it was crumbling, decayed. The word whisper was barely visible now. "It wasn't like this," Mark muttered. "We just came through it." A soft voice echoed from nowhere and everywhere. "You left, you returned. Now you stay." Eliza screamed. They bolted through the archway, or what was left of it, only to find themselves back in the forest. But the cabin was gone. Their car was gone. Only the endless trees remained. Days blurred. Hunger gnawed at them. The sun never truly rose. They screamed, they begged, but the forest remained indifferent. They were trapped. Each night, the whispers told them stories of others who walked the passage. None ever left. Eliza lost herself first, staring blankly into the void. Mark tried desperately to find another way out, but every path led back to the archway. They came across remnants of others: a faded jacket, a broken watch, a rusted lighter, all scattered in the undergrowth like relics of forgotten lives. The realization was crushing. "We're not the first," Mark muttered, voice hollow, "and we won't be the last." Eliza barely responded, her mind fraying. One morning, Mark woke up alone. Eliza was gone. Only her scarf remained caught on a branch, and then he understood. The passage didn't trap you. It took you, one by one. In his desperation, Mark started seeing flashes of his past, distorted and cruel. He saw himself as a boy, watching his father leave the house, suitcase in hand, never to return. The same hollow feeling filled him now. Another night, he dreamt of their wedding day. Eliza smiling brightly, her hand in his. That smile twisted into a grimace as she turned to ash, carried away by the wind. "You brought me here," her voice echoed. He remembered the argument a week before this trip, Eliza begging him not to choose the countryside. "Something feels wrong, Mark. I can't explain it." He laughed then. "It's just a cabin." One morning, Mark woke up alone. Eliza was gone. Only her scarf remained caught on a branch. And then he understood. The passage didn't trap you. It took you, one by one. Mark roamed the forest, his mind fraying with every step. Days or weeks passed. He could no longer tell. He spoke to the trees, to the shadows, to the voices in his head. They answered. Whispers turned into conversations. Mocking, familiar voices. His own, Eliza's. Voices from his childhood. Regrets he'd buried long ago. All came flooding back. Night after night, he dreamt of Eliza, sometimes calling for him, sometimes blaming him. He saw her pale face in the mist, heard her laugh turn into a scream. The forest feasted on his guilt, his fear, his memories. Hunger faded. Pain became a distant memory. Only the voices remained, drawing him deeper into madness. His fingers bled from clawing at the trees, his eyes sunken, his lips cracked. Yet he smiled. The forest had become home. There was no escape, only acceptance. He found himself talking to Eliza's scarf, stroking it gently, apologizing, laughing, crying. "I should have never brought us here," he muttered endlessly. Sometimes he felt her hand on his shoulder. Sometimes he welcomed it. When the final night came, Mark sat beneath the crumbling archway, laughing and crying all at once. "I understand now," he whispered. "You don't take us. We come willingly." The whispers echoed in agreement, wrapping around him like a lover's embrace. His eyes closed, his body slumping forward, claimed by the forest. In the end, there was only silence. It was never on any map. That's what Elena Morris kept repeating afterward, like the words could erase what she'd seen. An alley she'd walked by countless times near the old industrial district, half hidden by collapsed fences and overgrown brush. But that dusky evening, as the sky bled orange and grey, something about the crooked metal gate caught her eye. The streets were unusually quiet. the kind of silence that pressed on your ears. Elena slowed her steps, staring at the narrow gap in the fence where darkness yawned. She had no reason, no logical one at least, to stop. Yet she did. A chill climbed her spine as the air shifted unnaturally, heavier somehow. "It's just an old maintenance tunnel," she whispered, trying to sound brave. Without another thought, she ducked inside. The tunnel reeked of rusted metal and stagnant air, every breath tasting of mildew. Elena's boots scraped along the cracked concrete, each step swallowed by the gloom. Her phone's weak flashlight pushed against the dark, but barely. Faint markings lined the walls, symbols, almost runes, etched deep into the surface. Minutes passed, or maybe more. There was no telling time down here. Just when Elena thought it was a dead end, a low hum vibrated through the walls. She froze, heart thundering. "Is someone down here?" she called out. But only the hollow echo of her voice answered. Still, she swore she heard movement, a soft shuffle behind her. The humming grew louder, almost melodic, as if the tunnel itself was singing. Elena's skin prickled. The symbols on the walls seemed to shimmer faintly. Whispers drifted through the stale air, disjointed words, overlapping, barely intelligible. "Turn back. You shouldn't be here." Elena spun, her breath catching. In the periphery of her light, she caught a glimpse. A pale figure melting into the wall. Wide, hollow eyes watched her, lips twisted in a grin too wide to be human. No, I'm seeing things," she stammered, forcing herself forward, but her legs trembled. The walls narrowed, pressing inward, forcing Elena into a crouch. The air grew colder, sharp like needles against her skin. She stumbled into a vast chamber, the ceiling lost in darkness. Piles of objects littered the floor, old shoes, rusted jewelry, broken glasses, things people once owned. In the center stood a grotesque statue, its surface slick with something dark and wet. Elena's stomach twisted. "What is this place?" she whispered. A low laugh echoed from the walls. The floor beneath her seemed to pulse, alive with something unseen. She turned to leave, but the tunnel behind her was gone. Panic seized her. Elena ran, no longer caring where, just away. The ground seemed to stretch, the distance endless. And then she heard it, a child's voice. Soft, sing-song. "Stay with us. We're lonely." From the shadows, small figures emerged. Children, or the memory of them. Their eyes were empty sockets, their mouths sewn shut. "Stay, stay," they whispered, even though their mouths didn't move. Elena screamed, the sound tearing from her throat raw. "Please, I didn't mean to come here." The children scattered like smoke, vanishing into the dark. Elena stumbled, her body failing, sinking to her knees. In the suffocating silence, she felt the coldest breath against her ear. Slowly, she turned her head. A man stood inches away, skin paper thin, eyes like ink black voids. "You walk the hollow vein," he murmured. "It's part of you now." Elena trembled violently, her mind fracturing. There's no way back. There never was. The next morning, Elena's car was found idling by the fence, driver's door open. But Elena Morris was gone. They searched for days, but no trace ever surfaced. The old industrial district was sealed off, locals whispering about the cursed passage beneath the city. They call it the Hollow Vein now, No one dares go near. It started as an ordinary Friday night in late October. A cold drizzle clung to the air as David Collins drove along the old county road, his mind numb after a long week at work. David was a 46-year-old building inspector, known for his rational mind and calm demeanor. Yet even he found himself glancing twice at the blackened trees lining the road, their skeletal branches clawing at the sky. He had taken this route many times, but that night something felt wrong, strangely off. It wasn't until his headlights illuminated the faded sign that David's heart gave a slight jump. Old Whitmore Passage, 2 miles ahead. He hadn't heard that name in years. A narrow tunnel, built nearly a century ago, long abandoned after a fatal collapse. As a kid, he'd heard stories of people disappearing in the passage. The town had sealed it off decades ago, but seeing the sign left a sour taste in his mouth. He tried to shake the unease, but curiosity nagged at him. Against his better judgment, David slowed as he approached the turnoff, eyes narrowed against the rain. The entrance to the passage was barely visible now, overgrown with ivy and brush. The iron gate, once bolted shut, hung loose on rusted hinges. David pulled over, his pulse quickening. Why the hell was the gate open? He sat there, staring at it, wrestling with a mixture of caution and that gnawing, undeniable pull to check it out. Maybe it was the dreary night, or maybe just a flicker of midlife recklessness. But David grabbed his flashlight and climbed out of the car. He laughed nervously under his breath. "What the hell am I doing?" he muttered. Still, he pushed forward, the crunch of wet gravel beneath his boots echoing in the dark. The air near the entrance felt colder, thicker. David's breath fogged out, and as his flashlight beam swept over the crumbling stone arch, he felt something deep in his gut tighten. Standing just beyond the threshold, David called out, "Hello? Anyone there?" The sound bounced back unnaturally, distorted by the narrow walls. He swallowed hard. There was no reason to go inside, and yet there was. With a final glance back at his car, David stepped inside. The world behind him dimmed, the weak daylight swallowed whole. Only the beam of his flashlight cut through the dense darkness, revealing damp stone walls, streaked with black mold. Every step forward made his skin crawl. There was a smell, a sickly, sweet, rotting odor that seemed to come from deep within the earth itself. David gagged but pressed on, heart hammering in his chest. Minutes passed, or was it longer? It was impossible to tell. The tunnel curved slightly, and David felt a growing pressure, like the walls were squeezing in. That's when he saw it. Faint scuff marks on the stone floor. Someone had been here recently. His throat tightened. The stories from his childhood flooded back. Whispers of those who entered and never left. Suddenly, a low, scraping sound echoed from deeper within. David froze, blood draining from his face. "Is someone there?" he called out again, his voice cracking. No answer, just the distant sound, like nails dragging along the stone. He turned to leave, but the tunnel behind him looked different. He blinked, breathing heavily. "No," he whispered. "No, no, no." The way out was gone. It should have been a straight line back, but now the tunnel forked. "What the hell?" David's voice trembled. His flashlight flickered as he struggled to steady his breathing. Panic clawed at him. Every instinct screamed to run, but where? He took a wrong step and slipped, landing hard on his side. Cursing, David pushed himself up. That's when he saw it. A figure standing at the far edge of his flashlight's reach. Pale, unmoving. "Hey!" he shouted, his voice echoing wildly. The figure didn't respond. David squinted, dread crawling up his spine. Slowly, it turned, not walked, but twisted unnaturally toward him. Its face. There was no face, only a gaping black maw. David screamed, a raw, guttural sound that ripped from his throat. He staggered backward, dropping the flashlight. Darkness consumed him. Hands trembling, he scrambled, grabbing the light and shining it wildly. The figure was gone. "I need to get out. I need to get out," he muttered, over and over like a prayer. Blindly, David chose a tunnel and ran. His lungs burned. His legs ached, but he didn't stop. The passage twisted, turned, narrowed. The stench grew unbearable. Shadows danced along the walls. Then voices, faint, whispering his name. David sobbed, hands over his ears. "Leave me alone," he shouted. But the voices only laughed. Finally, light, dull, distant. David pushed forward, his body bruised and exhausted. The passage opened into a wide cavern, and for a moment he thought he was safe. But then he saw them. Faces, hundreds of them, pale and blank, embedded into the stone walls. Their mouths stretched open in silent screams. David's knees buckled. "Oh God," he gasped. That's when he felt it. Hands, cold as ice, wrapping around his ankles. He looked down, horrified to see the fingers emerging from the stone floor. They clawed at him, dragging him toward the wall. "No, please!" David thrashed wildly, kicking and screaming. The wall seemed to pulse like a living thing. The faces twisted, their mouths moving in unison. "Stay with us," they whispered. Tears streamed down David's face. "I don't want to die here," he screamed. A face, one he recognized, emerged from the wall. It was his father, dead 20 years. "It's not dying, son. It's coming home." The face smiled. With one final desperate scream, David was pulled into the stone. The passage fell silent once more. Only the faint sound of dripping water echoed in the dark.